Thanks for joining us on the news at 10. I'm Joe Parrish. Jude Binkley has the evening off. Idaho lawmakers are dealing with an influx of legislation this session. New state data shows that the legislature has prepared and introduced more bills than any other session in the last 5 years. As Abby Davis reports for us tonight, some legislators say that quantity doesn't always mean quality.
Joe, there's been an increase in the number of bills working their way through the State House for several years. So far this session, staff have prepared more than 950 pieces of legislation, queuing them up for committee consideration. Compare that number to 2023, when staff prepared more than 850 pieces of legislation, in 2020, when they prepared more than 830.
We have a lot of bills that are being imported from out of state, organizations that really want to use Idaho as an incubator for some of the most extreme and radical legislation possible.
Representative Steve Birch also blames the increase on copy and pasted bills. Think tanks, lobbyists, and corporate-backed national special interest groups pitch to lawmakers across the country, organizations that are often called bill mills. Birch says another problem is committee chairs not being selective enough about what gets introduced and letting, quote, carelessly written bills through. The more bills, he says, the less time lawmakers have to thoroughly read them.
What happens is people wind up voting on a bill based on what the perceived intent is, which may sound really good, but the content may not be so good.
In a failed effort this week, a Republican lawmaker tried to expand a state government office to help tackle the, quote, backup of bills. Legislation is still being introduced this session, even though lawmakers initially hoped to adjourn today, something Birch called frustrating, since that leaves little time to think them through, Joe.
And as you mentioned, they had hoped to maybe adjourn today, but they still have got plenty of budget bills. Yeah. And I guess we'll see if they print any other policy bills as well. Abby Davis reporting.